This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 216 of the Stable Scoop Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network. Women's polo, and it's a mental game. Please support our sponsors on this show because they make this possible.
Sponsors this week are equestrian collections for the entire universe of equestrian shopping at your fingertips at equestriancollections.com. And our newest sponsor, Stable Comfort by ProMat. You can find them at stablecomfort.com.
Welcome to the Stable Scoop, with weekly shows delivered right to you. With Helena and Glenn the Geek, live from the stable, it's every week. They bring you the news through hail, high water, while using their tails as their own fly swatters. So sit on down and laugh till you poop, cause it's time again for Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop.
This is Glenn the Geek.
And this is Coach Jen.
And you're listening to the Stable Scoop Radio Show. Why are you laughing?
I'm laughing at your show notes.
Because my show notes are perfect. I perfectly understand my own show notes. Nobody else does, but I understand them.
You know, in the action adventure movies, Indiana Jones finds a stone tablet with some long forgotten language carved into it, and he dusts it off, and there's a chip missing. So he gets 3 or 4 words, and then there's a gap, and then there's a couple of more words, and then it's broken. And then the next time he finds some more words, it's a completely different subject. That's what your show notes look like, Glenn.
That's what my mind looks like. So it's just matches. I just get it. And see, Helena's is the same way. So when she reads the show notes, she totally gets it too. So, but speaking of which, she's just out this week. She'll be back next week. She was in the middle of computer hell.
Oh, no.
She got her Mac fixed last week, got it back, and it still wasn't working. So she had to go back for another meeting with the geniuses. They said they were going to have to go up the levels. I don't know where you go beyond genius. Are you a super genius, or is there a separate word for that at that point? But she's going to need a
She
higher level.
needs to send it to the set of Big Bang Theory.
We determined that probably they were going to schedule a seance with Steve Jobs, and that he was going to fix it that way. That's what we determined.
I thought Max didn't break.
Yeah, that's not so much the case. Actually, she had the whole motherboard replaced, and it still was doing the same thing it did before. So obviously, it wasn't the motherboard. That was a $1,200 fix, which was fortunately under insurance, but still.
Wow.
Yeah, so Helena will be back next week when she's a lot less frustrated, hopefully, and actually has a computer to use.
Didn't you have the motherboard replaced on your Mac?
Yes, I did. Actually, it died, and it was under a recall for the motherboard. Which I got mine replaced for free, too, thankfully, because it was $1,200.
Now, mind you, I don't have any idea what a motherboard is and why a computer has one, but I know you got one replaced.
That's the thing that has all the little gizmos and gadgets on it that make your computer work. It's the things with all the little chips that welded to it. You know, that one.
Well, that's pretty much the whole computer. The rest of it's just a case.
That's pretty much it. Yep, you're absolutely right.
There's not a lot of parts in there.
I know.
It's the motherboard and a keyboard and a screen, and that's it.
Yep. So that's so they're going to have to figure out why her computer's dead. But she'll be back next week. No worries. We have a good show planned for you today. We have a number of things we're going to talk about. We have Ms. D. Wrigley coming up very shortly to talk about the Kentucky CDE this weekend and what that's like. And also, we are bringing you a little bit from our Equestrian Legends show that just came out a couple of days ago, because I found the woman absolutely fascinating, and she was talking about polo, and she is truly a pioneer. I'll tell you more about her later on, but she's truly a pioneer in women's polo in the United States. So we're going to have a word from her, and then you have the Tack and Have It segment where we're sort of combining into a training tip.
It's an all-purpose uniform tip, yes.
And tell us a little bit about what that's about.
We're going to be talking about a really awesome, cool book that I got very recently, and it's all about being a better rider without having to go to the gym.
And today we're talking about mental skills with the author, right?
That's right.
Yep, terrific. Well, that's all coming up in this episode of the Stable Scoop Radio Show. And we're going to get to Misty Wrigley very shortly. And you might say Wrigley. Well, yes, that's Wrigley's gum, and she is of the Wrigley family, and she is well known in the driving world. And we're going to speak to her about a show this weekend called the Kentucky CDE, which is a driving event happening this weekend at the Kentucky Horse Park. If you're anywhere in Kentucky, you definitely need to attend this. Jennifer and I volunteered at it last year when we lived in Kentucky. Can't volunteer this year, unfortunately, but she's joining us for a little bit. Actually, she joined Wendy and I on the driving radio show, but she's a fascinating woman and a driver herself, as well as an organizer of this event. So we're going to hear about that in just a minute. But first, a word from the Horse Radio Network. Do you have a company in the horse world? Are you looking to get the word out about your products, services, or shows? At the Horse Radio Network, we understand our advertisers need to reach the equestrian consumer in the most efficient, cost-effective way possible. Internet radio shows like this one, also called podcasts, allow the flexibility and creativity to craft unique messages that stand out from the herd and reinforce your existing marketing and social media strategies. If you want to learn more about advertising on this show or any of our shows on the Horse Radio Network, contact our account manager, Lisa, at 847-790-4476. Or you can drop her an email at lisa@horseradionetwork.com. Our listeners are terrific, engaged, and avid horse people, the ones that you are looking for.
Watch. Okay, so we're here with Misty Wrigley Miller. She lives in Kentucky and is one of the organizers of the Kentucky Classic CDE, which is one of my most favorite horse shows. That's at the beautiful Kentucky Horse Park. It was the site of the WEG 2010. And welcome, Misty, to the Drive Radio Show.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
So you must be just totally stressed out and busy getting ready for the show, huh?
No, the time for stressing has passed with the rain showers. Now that the sun has come out and everything's drying up and everything's coming together, so stress has passed. Now we're just looking forward to having a great horse show.
Oh, great. And when do people start arriving?
They are already here. I mean, there have been some people passing me with their horses and ponies and carriages already. So, yeah, it's going to happen soon.
And you have this show is actually incredible because it also has a lot of four-in-hands. How many four-in-hands do you have this year?
We have 2 four-in-hands, and this is kind of interesting. We did have 3, which we were very excited about because they were, of course, Chester and Jimmy, who were the bronze medal winners in Europe just a couple of months ago. And so we've been talking that up that, we have our medal winners from Europe returning. But Jimmy has dropped down and decided to drive a pair. So the competition would be for the pair national championship just got a lot deeper.
Oh, that's right. You're also doing the pair national championships, and isn't it also the pony national championships?
It is all the pony division national championships, yes.
So when we do the pony national championships, that involves the single, the pair, and the four-in-hand. So you actually have 4 national championships at this one show.
Yes.
You have single, pair, four-in-hand pony, and then you have the pair horse.
Right.
And are you showing in the pair horse division?
I am.
You are? Oh, so you're going head-to-head with Jimmy. Who else is in your division?
Steve Wilson, who is a newcomer to our sport, but, he's just so enthusiastic, and he's moved up, to compete and advance very quickly, and
right.
So we're happy to have him involved on such a high level. It's great.
Yeah, and he drives those beautiful Lipizzannas, doesn't he?
Yes, exactly.
What do you drive, Misty?
I'm sorry?
What are you driving this weekend? Tell us about your horses.
I drive KWPN horses mostly. My marathon specialist is a Danish warm blood. His name is Snoopy, and he has a kind of a funny roan mark on his shoulder, and it's it looks like snowflakes from his homeland. I always remember he's a Danish horse.
And Snoopy has his own fan club because Snoopy he's like mommy's baby. He has his good days and his bad days. So on his good days he's fantastic.
Yes, yeah, and on his bad days he's really, really bad.
So it's just like wait a minute. So it's just like a marriage, is what you're saying? The relationship here with the horse?
Yes, it really, really is. It's total love-hate, but at the end of the day, we always kiss and make up, and so it's always good.
That's funny. Now, what about the course this year? Has it been raining? I know it was very dry, actually, in Lexington the beginning of the season, but you've gotten a good amount of rain, so is the footing going to be good?
Yeah, in fact, we got about an inch in the last 30 hours.
Oh, wow.
But all the clouds are gone now. It's quite warm, and there's a little breeze coming up, so it's drying out. And I've actually just walked through all the hazards. The footing is in great shape. The actual dressage ring has a little soggy corner, but it's got 2 days to dry up. So I think we're going to be in excellent shape.
Wendy, that place should be hustling, too, because I think there's a dressage show or something else going on at the same time this weekend, isn't there?
There is always something going on at this horse park. I know that the Paso Fino National Championships start on Sunday.
Oh, is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, there's going to be a lot of fast stepping going on at the horse park on Sunday.
Exactly.
So if people want to come out and see the show, it's at the Kentucky Horse Park, and Thursday and Friday is dressage, and then Saturday is marathon, which is my favorite part to watch from a spectator, and then Sunday is cones. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah. And eight hazards for the cross country because so many national championships are being determined. So there's going to be plenty of thrills for people if they come out on Saturday. And of course, I know I'm a little prejudiced because it's my hometown, but I think these are the best hazards in the country because they were, of course, built for the World Equestrian Games, and they're so beautiful.
And for any of our listeners who have not seen a marathon yet, you just have to go see one. It is absolutely the most fun thing you're ever going to watch. It's a good time. Thank you so much for joining us today, Misty. We really appreciate it, and good luck over the weekend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
If you want to find out more about the Kentucky Classic CDE, you can go to KentuckyClassicCDE.com, and all the information's there as well as the schedule. But as we said in there, Saturday's the day you want to head out if you want to have some fun watching the marathon and watching the crazy carriage drivers going like nuts all over the horse park. That's the day to do it. That's the day for the
That's
fun.
only the pony division.
And Jennifer and I, Jennifer, you were a ridden eventer, but yet you still love going out and watching the carriages, don't you?
Oh, they're awesome. The marathon phase is so much fun to watch. Oh, absolutely. They're going around like bonkers. And the guy hanging off the back of the carriage like some kind of combine gymnastics with NASCAR.
Right, exactly. That's exactly what it's like. Yep. Well, that's what's going on this weekend at the Kentucky Horse Park. We thought we'd let you know about that, one of our favorite events. And we're going to get to, I did an interview with Sunny Hale for Equestrian Legends, and her name is actually Sunset, by the way. Sunset
really?
Hale. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
And if you listen to the Equestrian Legends show, you'll find out what her siblings' names are, and they are all as interesting as Sunset. But she is a true pioneer in the world of women's polo. She followed in her mother's footsteps, and she has really, truly transformed polo on and off the field for women. She was the first woman in the United States history to win the U.S. Open Polo Championship, and that's like the Super Bowl of polo. She's a 7-time winner of the Polo Excellence Awards for Woman Player of the Year, She's attained the highest rating ever given to a woman in the history of the sport of 5 goals after winning the U.S. Open Polo Championship in 2000, and she's founded numerous organizations and associations to enhance the sport of polo, and she's done it at a fairly young age, actually. She's the youngest equestrian legend we've ever had, and I wanted you to hear a little bit of that interview today. We're going to give you a piece of it because she was such a fascinating woman. We thought we'd share it with our Stable Scoop audience as well, and then you'll be able to hear the rest of it if you head over to equestrianlegends.com.
And we would love to introduce to you out there in podcast listening world our newest advertiser here on the Stable Scoop radio show, Stable Comfort by ProMat. And it is a stall comfort system for your horse, and it's for all of your horses, not just the old ones, not just the ones with lameness issues, not just the ones on stall rest. It's for everybody. Just like a good quality mattress is for every human being, a good quality underfoot stable system is for all of your horses. Unlike traditional rubber mats that we see in most folks' stalls, this is an all-in-one system. It is one piece that covers the entire floor. Therefore, no peeling of mats, no mats for horses to get caught on, no mats that will peel up and allow dirt, urine, bacteria, and viruses to hide underneath. And on top of that, this system has 2 separate layers. The bottommost layer, closest to the ground, is designed specifically for your horse to walk on to give him a more natural feel to the floor. It's got a little bit of give to it, similar to what maybe turf would be outdoors. So it gives. It's not a hard surface. And when he stands up and lays down and moves around the stall, it allows his joints and his feet and his back and his ribs to feel more comfortable. So it's a bottom layer of padding that is designed specifically for horses and a top layer of firm flat rubber so that it's easy to keep clean and sanitary. And all this is available at Stable Comfort, and it's stablecomfort.com. Is that right, Glenn?
Yep, stablecomfort.com.
It's great stuff. Chris Cox uses it. Nick Skelton, one of our favorite jumper riders, uses it. Mary King, everybody's favorite event rider, and Craig Johnson as well. So a lot of top horsemen already have discovered Stable Comfort, and we want you to go to stablecomfort.com and discover it as well. Your horses will appreciate having something pleasant underfoot, and you'll use a lot less bedding, so your folks who are in charge of cleaning stalls will love it, and the people who pay your bills, that's you, will love it as well.
Equestrian legend, Sonny Hale. So, and this might help others who are, other women or other men, for that matter, who are wanting to get into polo. When you went out to play, you were still one of the first women that were playing at the caliber and the level that you were playing at. And, I read some quotes that you had. It wasn't totally easy for you either at that point, being a woman in a man's sport.
Well, basically, what I wanted to do, my chosen occupation at the time, which there really weren't any women in that occupation, so there's no resume that you submit, there's no, job finder service. You have to basically earn any position you have based on your talent, and it's basically word of mouth. So what I did was, one is I had the desire to play in the best polo in the United States with the best players. So getting on teams at all different levels just took, practice. And I got on those teams for basically my talents and being able to work with other teammates. So one job would lead to another job, which finally led to coming to Palm Beach in 1993, where I got my very first professional job. For those viewers that are not familiar, West Palm Beach, Florida, Wellington to be specific, is pretty much the Wall Street. If you're a stockbroker, you go to Wall Street. So if you're a polo player, you want the best polo in America, you go to Wellington, Florida in the winter. And I got my first job opportunity as a professional in Wellington in 1993. And that one, playing on that team, led to another team at a higher level, which led to several more opportunities. So no, at that time, there were no paid women professionals playing. I would have to say I was probably the first one that was actually a paid professional. There's some women that own teams. They would play as amateurs, and maybe there's some girls that would sub in that were excellent players. So kind of that field that I was in was kind of a one of a kind, but truly an amazing opportunity to be able to play. If you think about it, it would be like dropping me into Michael Jordan's team, in the NBA finals. And people were very okay with it because they're based on my skill. Was it easy? No, but anybody at my handicap, at my skill level, in comparison to the skill levels on the field, you're going to take some heat, but that goes without saying.
Yeah, well, that's that. Even guys going into a guys team like you were talking about are going to get that when they're rookies.
Oh yeah, Like the newest guy on Michael Jordan's team, he's going to take some heat. He's going to have to get after it to try and match up. But the opportunity to be able to play with that caliber of player, that's what I wanted. And so none of that really mattered.
Although you were quoted as saying that you knew more swear words and more languages than probably any girl your age.
Now, where did you find that? That's funny. No, I can tell you a large dictionary of words that I've never heard before, but that's when you just kind of go numb and you realize the lips are moving, but it doesn't mean anything. You just keep doing what you're doing.
What did you find, in those early days when you were in your 20s and you were working your way up through to become one of the top female players in the world? What were the biggest challenges you found along the way?
For me, I think the biggest challenges is listening to people over and over who had a different plan for what I should do, for how I should do it, and what I shouldn't go after because of some hurdles they thought or they knew about. I think the hardest challenge was to sit quietly, listen to it without comment, and I just know, I'd know in my mind and my heart, I was like, okay, whatever you just said, but I'm still going after it, and I will get it. And I think that was pretty much the hardest part, is just to sit quietly, not bite, and continue to do what I thought I wanted to do. I think that's truly the hardest thing.
And you, financially, was it tough being out on your own those years, or was there enough coming in to eat?
No. As with anybody that's in the equestrian world, you really have to, if this is something you want to do as an occupation, you have to truly have an edge. You have to have something different or know something or truly believe in what you're doing in order to figure out the finance side, unless you have a backer or you have you came from money. That's something that you have to constantly figure out how to produce in order to be there. So that was always part of the picture, to be able to put that whole puzzle together.
So then in the year 2000, you had an opportunity to play on a pretty good team in a pretty good tournament.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Pretty good tournament would be defined as the premier tournament in the United States, the U.S. Open. And the pretty good team was the good fortune of playing the Outback Steakhouse team owned by Tim Gannon, who had won the Open 4 or 5 times, had hired the best professional player in the world, Adolfo Cambiasso. And they had started, heading towards the U.S. Open. They'd been planning for the year previous with the team that they'd organized. They had 2 or 3 warm-up tournaments they were going to play with that team before the Open. So there was a lot of preparation that had gone into place. I was nowhere on the roster or even on the radar. And somewhere in the warm-up tournament, the owner decided that he wanted to not play in the U.S. Open. He wanted to give that opportunity to his best friend, who had been also his team manager and best friend since college, in Phil Healy. And so what that did is it changed the dynamics of the 4th professional that could fit on that team. So it was pretty amazing. Tim had just decided, you know what, I've won this tournament about 4 times. I don't feel the same chemistry as I did those other times. And instead of just go through the motions, I'm going to give the opportunity to my best friend. I'm going to sit down. And he went to Adolfo. He told him what he wanted to do. And they together, they needed what's called in polo your handicap. They needed a 4 handicap player. And they chose me. They called me and said, would you like to play in the U.S. Open? And, of course, I said, gee, let me check. No, do I want to play?
See if I'm busy that weekend.
I'm available. Oh, yes, I'm available, and I'm ready today. So I really didn't get any prep time. It was kind of like, I'm in, got the call, showed up, and, the rest was history. We went undefeated, and one of the greatest experiences, I think, in my life.
And that was in Southern Florida at that point? Was that helpful?
Yeah, that was in Wellington, Florida in 2000.
Gotcha. And that led to the next 5 years of playing, and then in 2005 you established the Women's Championship tournament to help promote women's polo. Tell us how that came about.
That's funny, because I had played in women's tournaments since I was a kid, and I saw something different because I had the good fortune, even since I was a teenager, to be able to fly around the country and play in women's tournaments. And I'd meet like 2 or 3 really excited, amazing women players in one location, and maybe 4 in another location. And maybe I met some, and I went to Jamaica and played, and met a few over there. And I kept thinking to myself, God, there's got to be a way to network that enthusiasm, that type of professionalism, for that group of women that wanted to really compete against each other, have a good time, but truly were sportsmen at the end of the day. And so I was on a plane flying to Singapore, and it was my first trip going there to play. And I thought to myself, 9 hours into the flight, for any of you that have flown that far, and looking over the water going, my God, can't we do something in the United States to network all these people? And here I am going all the way over here to this side of the world. And so with that, I came up with in my mind this idea for a format that we could network all those type of women through top tournaments played around the United States. I was traveling, to a lot of them anyway. And then I just thought, if you put that group of women together, what could they do as a group? And what actually happened is I created that format in 2005, got it accepted by the Polo Association as, hey, roll with it, it's great. Started the WCT as a corporation to see where it went. And basically what's happened since that point is we have 2 qualifiers all around the United States and internationally. This year we'll be adding 2 qualifiers in Argentina. We have 1 in Singapore, actually, that I'm going to next week. We'll be adding 1 in Malaysia, and we have 1 that was in Italy, as well as from, the West Coast, California, all the way to Florida. So what's really fun for me now is to truly see that fun network of you're going to play hard, you're going to go after it, and you can play these tournaments around the country and meet those kind of women. For me, that's been an amazing thing because it really did. Just that idea just started in 2005.
And how many women's teams are there now? There's quite a few, isn't there?
Well, that's the thing. There's tournaments all around the United States and around the world. Women happen to represent one of the largest growing sectors getting into the sport currently, and that's kind of a worldwide pattern. So how many women's teams in total? Couldn't even tell you. Okay. But tournament-wise, it's definitely on the rise. And as far as women getting into the sport that they've rode horses, they tried other horse sports, or they like what they're doing, but they want to try something different. You can now go to one of these WCTs at these clubs and kind of just check it out. See other women play. If that's something you want to try. And as women are a lot more cautious than men, they want to go see if, let me just go see if I'm not going to make a fool of myself. But these are really, these tournaments and clubs are really open to new players. And so that's the fun part is it's a way for, mainstream people that have never been exposed to polo to kind of get their first look at it, go to one of these tournaments, have a good time. We encourage everybody to go hang out, and it's almost always more important that you have a very good swag bag when you show up and that you put on a good party at the tournament. Because we don't care if you're really good, we're still going to make fun of you.
I'm a driver, and it's the same way. The party is important. So, but
that's the whole point, and that's the thing. Then the fun part for me is just promoting that camaraderie of it, no matter what your character is. But what we don't promote is a bad attitude. If you got a bad attitude, we're probably not going to invite you next time. You need to get over it.
Well, this is a good point to actually discuss. I did want to get into this conversation at some point. I think one of the misconceptions polo has is that it's only a rich man's sport, or rich person's sport in this case, that you have to be wealthy to play it. And I think that's changing a bit with the smaller teams and with the more local teams available. Isn't that changing?
Well, I think what's changing is that polo is accessible truly to anybody. What is the misconception is that mostly in the media that's ever been promoted about polo, and this is where the assumption comes that it's only for the wealthy, very wealthy, is usually media picks up on polo when a famous person or somebody in royalty or an actor, something happened, or they played, or they broke a leg, or they whatever. And so the only thing that really ever gets shown mainstream is that level of the sport. So when you say that, well, what does that mean? What's the trickle-down effect? It would be like saying, I race cars, and the only thing you ever saw was NASCAR level. You're like, oh, my God, that guy's got $1 million race team.
Right.
No, I actually raced at a dirt track with a little go-kart,
right.
Over in Ohio, and I race, and so that's what no one's ever really shown the underneath of truly what exists in America, because probably 65% of the polo that's played around the United States is by just what you call your weekend warriors. That maybe they got a quarter horse and it ropes during the week, and they go to the polo on the weekend, or they rented one from a polo club, and they go grab the 2-horse trailer and they go play on the weekend, and they don't see polo again till the next weekend. So that's kind of the side that's never really been really just put a flashlight on.
And, I think also we've all heard, especially those of us in the horse world and outside for that matter, that you need 6 horses, and, you've got to have the full string and the whole thing. And you're right, you don't really need that on a whole to play at the lower levels.
Yeah, no, not at all. And see, that's the thing is that if you take WCT, for instance, this is the fun part for women that maybe they have a business that they do, or they run, or they work in corporations, is that they can actually literally, without owning a horse, they can call one of these clubs and say, hey, I want to play in one of these tournaments. How do I do it? There's usually lease horses available where you can show up, rent your horse, or, hey, I want to, come play at your club. You can go do it and not even own the horse. So it's kind of a easy in-out situation. But the issue with polo is that the conception is that, just like NASCAR, if all you ever saw was NASCAR, you think if you race, you have to have $1 million team. Tony Stewart's going to drive for you, and that's what it is. But they never show what the backyard little kid in his go-kart, that's part of racing too. Or the weekend guys, racing around the country. So that's kind of the thing for polo, that it's very open. You can call most polo clubs and say, I want to come try a lesson, and all you have to really do is show up with boots with some kind of heel, and they'll provide the rest, So in your average polo lesson, it depends on where you are. Sometimes they give them to you for free. I warn you now, it's addicting. That's a trick. It's a really good one. So you might get a couple free polo lessons, but your polo lessons average anywhere from $50 to $250 a lesson, depending on who it is and the location. So it's comparable to other sports. If you're in the market to try something new, it is comparable. You don't necessarily have to buy the whole menu of options. You can take it at whatever your budget level is. That's the addicting part.
Well, if you want to hear the rest of that interview with Sunny Hale, then you can head on over to equestrianlegends.com, and we hope you enjoyed hearing from her. I certainly enjoyed talking to her. And now it is time for Tack and Habit, which is brought to you by Equestrian Collections. Hi, Glenn, back with you from the Horse Radio Network. I'm here with Debbie with the Equestrian Collections Product of the Week.
Hi, Glenn, and happy fall. Since it's the autumn season, I wanted to feature our new waterproof turnout sheet. It's called the Centaur Don't Shoot Waterproof Turnout Sheet. And the reason it's called that is because it is blaze orange. It is as bright an orange as you could imagine. It also has reflective strips on it, so that if you're in a place where your horse is in a pasture and you're the least bit worried about hunters, you slap this thing on them and they will not mistake your horse for a deer. It's only $54.95, so it's well within, it's below $60. And it's only 420D, so it's not designed for a D meaning denier. It's not designed for rough, being rough out there in the fields. But what it is designed for is for visibility. I have a lot of customers who are concerned about that these days, and this is our answer to that. It is a waterproof turnout. It's waterproof, breathable, and it's got the reflective strips, so it's good to see day and night. It has a double front closure. It has the D-rings for the leg straps, but the leg straps don't come with it, so that's no problem. Most all of us have extra leg straps around, or you can order them from us as well. It also has front leg arches, so it fits really well. It's a Centaur product, which is a well-established vendor that we sell a lot of. This is just the first time they've gone into the protective environment, and I think it's a great idea for fall.
It is very bright. We used to have that problem in Pennsylvania where we lived. There were hunters all around our farm, so I love this product. It's available in all the usual sizes from 63 through 87, so your bigger horses as well. You can find it at equestriancollections.com. And Equestrian Collections also has a bunch of reflective stuff for humans as well. You can find that at equestriancollections.com. Well, Jennifer, now you're bringing us the Tack and Habit product of the week.
Inside Your Ride by Tanya Johnston, M.A. And she told me what the M.A. stands for, and I don't remember. It's got something to do with being really smart, going to college, and understanding psychology. Tanya is a longtime hunter-jumper competitor who went to the University of California and got a BA in psychology. And then she went to John F. Kennedy University and got a master's in sports psychology. And then she took those 2 degrees, and she is a mental skills coach for equestrians, which is a really cool job to have because everybody knows that equestrians are mental. But she stopped by a little while ago. She did some tips with us for Horse Tip Daily, which was really fun. And she wrote this little book called Inside Your Ride. And it's a lovely little paperback, so you can tuck it in when you have to take road trips. And it talks all about the mental aspects of riding and how they affect your performance long-term and short-term, how they affect your relationship with other equestrians. And one of the tips that we talked about is taking your job skills, things that you do every day at your job or in some cases at your school that you're good at. Maybe you're a really organized person at work and everybody comes to you to help themselves keep organized. How to take those kinds of skill sets and apply them to your horse habit to become a better rider. And it was really an interesting conversation. Welcome back, Tanya Johnston, mental skills coach, published author of Inside Your Ride, my favorite little handy-dandy paperback to carry with me everywhere I go, because you can read the whole book or one chapter, and when you close the book, you go, yes, I've got good stuff to do.
Great.
What have you got on the list today?
Well, so today we're going to be talking about how to use life skills. So the skills you walk around with every day that you may use in your job, that you use in your relationships and what you're doing at home with family or loved ones, what you're doing in your other hobbies, or things that you're involved in. How can we use the skills that we have as people and bring them to the barn, bring them to our riding? I think I am always excited by this idea because I think it's something that gets away from people. I think a lot of people, this doesn't occur to many people. And really, when I talk with clients about this, excuse me, it's something that's pretty exciting because it's sort of like having all these tools in your toolbox and they're kind of buried down at the bottom and you haven't been down there for a while. You didn't realize, oh yeah, I can use this.
Look at that. I didn't know I had that.
And I already have it. I don't even have to go to the hardware store. It's already right here.
Oh, cool. Enlighten me.
Yeah. So when you think about, so first of all, we want to say, all right, so what are my skills? If I have life skills, what are they? So we want to say, all right, what are the important skills I possess that, for example, make me good at my job? What things am I doing day in and day out at my job that I feel really confident in, that I feel empowered by when I'm facing a challenge at work? You know, what kinds of things do I have that way? Am I really organized? Am I a good communicator? Am I someone who can look at many sides to a problem? Am I someone who knows how to get the right help? You know, if I have a situation at work, am I shy about calling colleagues or asking people that I know that have been through the similar situation? Heck no, I want to get to the solution. I'm happy to ask anybody. You know, that kind of thing. So really sitting down and asking yourself, all right, what kinds of skills do I have? Maybe you're, you know, depending on your age, obviously, it will depend on how long you've been in the workforce or that kind of thing. But let's say there's a school teacher who also is an event writer and at events finds herself extremely distracted and frankly really put off by the environment of the warm-up ring, right? So there's too much chaos, there's too much going on. She'll go into the warm-up ring to get ready for her dressage test and just get totally overwhelmed and wish that she could only have a 3-minute warm-up and just get it over with. But that same person can go into a junior high school classroom where people are all over the place. The kids are, you know, they're
bonkers. Let's just face it. They're bonkers.
And, you know, a lot of acting out and people, you know, just all kinds of things are going on. And she can pick out the two things that she needs to do first to get organized. What are the most important things she needs to focus on to get control back in that classroom? And boom, she's done that. She's moving forward. She's comfortable with the choices she's made, and she's acting on them with confidence. That's a similar situation, and yet somehow in the warm-up ring situation, she's not able to trust her choices about what to focus on. So when we identify some parallels there in skill set, in ability to broaden and narrow focus, for example, that person can feel, oh my gosh, I do know how to do this. This is something I'm capable of. And this, I'm going to put this to use in a really positive way. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That's a great example of two similar chaotic situations. I can just see the warm-up ring with the crazy kids spitballs and stuff. But exactly. For this teacher, she can just walk in and go, oh, I've got this, and then take those mental skill sets and the ability to just go, this is what needs to happen, right, and move on, and carrying that over into the writing arena. That's fabulous.
Yeah. And so same thing, a lot of times people look at their communication skills being really fundamental, obviously, in our writing. It really is a form of communication. And so you have someone who's a great communicator, has a lot of really positive, compassionate, empathetic exchanges with the people that they're close to, and yet when they're on their horse, maybe is feeling like, gosh, we're just not on the same page, or my horse is always cranky and we're just not getting along, and feeling really stuck in that. And instead of, again, bringing this ability to have a communication that's give and take, right?
Yes.
There's a fluidness to the communication. It's not a black and white, you do what I say, or if you don't like me.
Right, yeah. That's great, because when you're at work, that's one of those things they teach you when you have to take all those classes on how to get along with your coworkers, that communication shouldn't be, generally speaking, very, very black and white. It should be a give and take. That's a great one, because so many people have gotten that kind of training at work. It's almost a requirement nowadays to take those kinds of, they do it during your lunch breaks and stuff. So that's a great one to take to the barn with you, to be able to communicate with your horse better.
Right. And to really understand that as a relationship. And again, this is another major theme of being able to look for the positive moments. So maybe the whole ride didn't go as you hoped, but there were moments where you felt like that aha of like, oh, we're totally in sync. I think it and my horse is doing it. Those kinds of things that we want to celebrate that and then focus on that. So we're driving home thinking about those beautiful highlights and not driving home thinking about, and then I put my leg on and he kicked out. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So these life skills are just really sort of often unmined, I think. They're sort of like gems that are just waiting to be discovered. So I encourage everyone to just sort of think through what you're using in other areas of your life to be successful. Again, put on that curiosity cap that I talked about in another horse tip, and sort of wonder to yourself, all right, how else can I use this skill to get toward my goals? How can this help me achieve my goals and become a more consistent and confident rider?
That's awesome. That's cool. And folks, by the way, on Inside Your Ride, this topic begins on page 142 and continues from there. So when you get your paperback version, that's where you go first. Right. Thank you so much for this. And there's more on this topic, by the way, in the book, and it gets much more deeply into it, and it covers a lot more skills. Yep. So for folks who want more, where can they find you, Tanya?
On my website, which is simply my name, TanyaJohnston.com. And I'm also on Facebook at Tanya Johnston Mental Skills Coach. And there's a lot of fun updates, what I'm doing, where I'm going, what I'm thinking about, and tips to kind of keep you on your toes with your psychological skills and outlook as far as your riding goes.
Super duper. And we'll be seeing you again real soon.
Okay, thanks so much.
Well, thank you, Jennifer, for doing that for us this week on Stable Scoop. We really appreciate that.
My pleasure.
As they always say, every sport, it doesn't matter what the sport, it's 80% mental, 20% physical. And it's really weird how you have to work so hard on that 20%, but you have to work even harder on that 80%. But boy, that 20% seems so hard to do when you're working out.
Yeah. Yeah. Give me a physical task any day. So much easier. I mean, muscle soreness, big deal. Just keep doing sit-ups, whatever it was. But boy, the mental part, that's tough. Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us, everybody, this week. We'll be sure to be back next week as Helena joins us again. We have some great shows planned for you over the next couple of weeks. And for details about today's show and any links, you can go to stablescoop.com for photos and more information, things like that. As always, we love your feedback. You can follow us on Facebook under Stable Scoop or at Twitter at Horse Radio. And many thanks to our sponsors today. We had Equestrian Collections and Stable Comfort by ProMat. And thank you, Jennifer, for helping out.
You're welcome. Sorry, folks, I had to be here, but Helena will be back next week. No worries.
You did great. And hopefully Helena gets her computer fixed. Let's hope so. Well, that's it for this week, everybody. We'll be back next week. And as Helena says...
That's it for this week.
No, she says happy scooping.
Oh, well, it doesn't say that in the show notes.
No, she just says it. Happy scooping.
Happy scooping.
And that really fits with our new sponsor.